Mr. Burrow sat me down. Told me some things can't be fixed. Some things lost are lost forever. No matter how hard we fight, how much it hurts, or how much our hearts yearn. Because this world's so much bigger than any of us. And sometimes the winds blowing against us are just too strong. Those times, Mr. Burrow said, we've just got to accept it. What's broke is broke and won't fix. And all anybody can do is try and build something new.
All the way from Providence, Rhode Island, welcome to the Rings of Power with Mary and Blake. It's a podcast dedicated to the Rings of Power on Amazon Prime Video. So sit back, relax, and let's chat the glory of the Second Age. Everybody, welcome back. I'm your host, Mary Larson.
My name is Blake, and I can't believe we're finally here, Mary, at the season finale of Rings of Power. What a way to close it out.
Oh, it really was remarkable on so many levels.
Yep.
It's been fun to go through each episode in so much depth, to enjoy reading the comments and listening to the feedback from you, our listeners, and other fans of the show. And then also our kids, our little lad and our little lass, have actually been watching the series.
Yes.
And they are now in episode 2 of season 2. I totally skipped the murder of Sauron, just so you guys know. And, there'll be other future things that I kind of fast forward a little bit. But it's just been truly the Larson household has been enveloped in this land and in this music and in these names and in this lore. Mm-hmm. And I'm going to be sad to see this show go for 2 years.
Yeah, because that's what it's going to end up being, another 2 years. But you know what, though? We have The Lord of the Rings, and we have The Hobbit.
Do you want to know what's crazy?
What's that?
Is that in 2 years, the new Harry Potter series comes out, too.
That's going to be wild.
We're going to be very busy.
Very
busy. Hopefully.
So much fantasy.
Hopefully Outlander comes out before everything. Outlander season 8.
Oh.
if all worlds combined, where we have House of the Dragon and Rings of Power and Harry Potter and the final season of Outlander all at once, you will not.
And Bridgerton.
Oh, I mean, hello. There's so many children. You know that series is going to be going on every single year. Blake and I will never leave our podcast studio. And you know what? We're okay with that.
I'm fine
We're
with
okay
that.
with that, friend. So that all being said, in case you didn't know that we covered all those shows, we do. We do cover all those shows and more. And if you are looking for some other things to check on out, you can head to maryandblake.com to see the other shows that we cover. If you have youngins in your family, I do want to let you know that we haven't We haven't sworn on this podcast.
No, and we never will.
And
If we do, it's by mistake.
yes. So this could be something if you did have a teen, preteen, who watches this, or someone in your life who likes Lord of the Rings and Rings of Power. But also we cover the Percy Jackson series with our kids. And that is, a different fantasy genre. But if you have fantasy young ones in your life, just know that that is another series. We don't talk about it too frequently, but they are in the process of doing season 2. And I just want to let you know, since you like fantasy, you're here listening to this podcast. So I'm just saying.
You're the kind of dork we're looking for.
That's right. Don't forget, one of the best things you can do is actually make sure you go to maryandblake.com and sign up to be on our email list. That way you will know when we have new podcasts drop or things that might just strike your fancy. So if you're not yet on our email list, head on over. We don't send spam or anything like that. It's literally Blake or I typing it up and just sending a little email. So we'd
just
love to
letting
have
you know
there.
when something new is coming up, or that's it.
That's it,
All
right?
And I realize, Mary, I'm going to do a totally rookie mistake. Are you ready for this one?
Yeah.
I forgot to open my seltzer water before we started recording. So there we go. Now, rookie mistake. Okay.
Okay. All right. On that note, let's get into the show.
Let's do it.
You could have done it while the music plays, and then people don't hear it as much.
Well, what else? If I make a mistake, I'm going to own up to it. And I love the idea that we're not always perfect. We don't claim to be perfect when we're doing these podcast episodes. And when I get a chance to highlight how flawed I really am,
How human you are.
Yes. You know what? I'll even sip it while I'm on air too.
You're no elf, that's for sure.
Absolutely not. But I would pay money to be Lee Pace in The Hobbit. I would give all the money in the world to be Lee Pace in The Hobbit.
Oh, good for you.
Because Lee Pace is like, woof.
He's your fave.
He's a dreamy man.
All right, so little plot recap if you're listening to this in the future. This, of course, is the final episode of Season 2, Shadow and Flame. In this episode, lots of things happen, okay?
A lot of things.
In the Dwarven drama that we got going on, Daddy Durin ends up dying because of the Balrog, and he apologizes to Baby Durin. Now, Baby Durin, he named him the king, but he may not be because some mysterious brother might want to take his throne. So
out of nowhere, we get a brother.
Yeah, by the way. It's like, are you kidding me? The stranger meets the dark wizard with the stores, saves them all, and he decides his name is Gandalf. Congratulations. We figured that out. We'll talk about this in a moment.
Day one.
Yeah. And back in Numenor, that place. Elendil gets a cool sword, and then also Pharazôn sends Kevin, aka Kemen, but Kevin goes and he's like wicked mean to Theo, and he's like, you guys need to chop down trees, and Theo rolls his eyes and just wants to be like, yeah, you go deal with the Ents. And Theo's pissed because he's like, we just want food. And while they're there, Isildur's girl, Estrid, says, I'm hooking up with my honey, but I kind of want to go to Numenor, and she doesn't get to go to Numenor, so she has to stay home with her fiance.
Yep.
And the actually super duper important things in Eregion, Sauron kills Celebrimbor terribly.
Oh, loved it.
Celebrimbor gets Galadriel the 9 rings. Adar wants to join with Galadriel, just like everything I was saying last episode. Like, what if this just worked out? It worked for 30 seconds, okay? 30 seconds, my dream world came true. And then Adar was killed by his children, who then...
By that one orc that we called that was going to kill him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He actually has a name.
Sure, whatevs. I think it's called like Gluck or Glick.
Let's just call him Bob.
Bob, sure.
Okay,
Bob.
so Bob kills him, and then Sauron kills Bob. And there's a whole bunch of drama that's going on. Sauron and Galadriel fight, and then Elrond and King, they wear the little magic rings, bippity boppity brew. Galadriel's safe. The elves live in some special place.
Arondir shows up.
Oh my God. He's alive. He's alive.
Somehow.
He is alive. Thank God.
It's like Star Wars. Somehow Palpatine survived.
Oh, but I am so here for it. Okay?
Somehow Arondir survived.
And they survived to this like magical little city that they think is protected somehow. And it's, magical. It's going to be Rivendell.
Yeah, I was just going to say it's totally going to be Rivendell.
Yeah, we know this.
Like, totally. There's 0.0 chance that it's not Rivendell.
Agreed.
All right. So, directed by Charlotte Brandstrom. You should know that name by now. Absolutely. But number one, because she directed the last episode of this season. But also, she has directed many episodes of Rings of Power, being essentially the A
Glug.
director.
His name is Glug.
See, I knew I was close. I thought it was like Gluck or something like that. Glug. Also, this episode, I was wrong, Mary, last episode when I say Patrick McKay and J.D. Payne was, the last episode was the only one that they had written. I was wrong because they wrote this episode as well. And if you want to know how many episodes they've written of Rings of Power, go to IMDb and do that on your own time. You can figure that out because they've written a lot. As the same thing for Charlotte Brandstrom, you can go back and read that on your own time because they've done a lot. All right. So, your rings rating. How many rings are you giving this episode, Mary?
I am giving it a 4.95.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So, you're down a little bit from the previous episode.
I thought the last one was 4.95 as well.
Oh, was it really? I thought you gave it a 5.
No, I did not give it
Oh,
a
yeah,
5.
you're right.
I'm
You're
rating this
right.
the same as last episode.
You're right.
I would
Okay.
not say it was better than the last episode, so I'm rating it the same.
Gotcha.
I like it a lot.
Gotcha. All right. I'm giving this one a 4.79. I think that there were some clear issues that this episode suffered from, but there's a lot of great things that make up for it, and I was happy with how it ended. So 4.79 for me. You're GBG. You're good. You're bad, and you're great.
My good was Adar. Holy flippin' smokes. This whole little thing he puts on the ring, bippity boppity boo. I'm beautiful. I'm actually an elf. I can't say my name. Who knows? Maybe Amazon doesn't have the rights to his name. Probably. That's probably, what it is. I can't tell you my name, Galadriel, or else we'll get sued. And his whole death and how his death mirrored what happened with Sauron and how, he almost did my dream come true, where I really think they could have done it. And he says, it's okay. We don't need to go to Valinor. We'll just go back to Mordor. We'll team up. We'll make this happen. Let's defeat Sauron together. We can do this together. Here's your ring. I don't want it. I just want to take my children and go to this cloudy land where we won't sizzle in the sun.
Right.
And then he dies. Oh, my God.
And the best part is, Mary, that for me, when he rejects the ring and he gives it, well, he doesn't reject it. He freely gives it back to Galadriel. To me, it was an organic, beautiful reason.
Yes.
And we'll get into that in a little bit.
And
but
seeing him change, like he takes it off, because what he was wearing, it was a beautiful elf. And then when he takes it off, he's halfway in between elf and his Uruk version. And then, after a few minutes, he's back to his old self. My bad, Gandalf. Okay? Listen, we've all known this was coming, okay?
Yes.
Which, fine. Totally fine. But for it to go grand elf... And then Poppy say, they've never seen an elf before. And since you're tall, they just figure they'll call you an elf instead of a wizard, which we all know you're a wizard. Anyway, so they go from grand elf, and then he takes it to Gandalf. Gand, of course, meaning staff, which, that wasn't laid out in the show well.
No, it was.
Said,
you're
no,
right.
he just said, I need a Gand. And honestly, I could have used, for the casual viewer, I could have used someone saying, what's a Gand? Like, Poppy could have easily been like, what's a Gand? And he could be like, oh, like a big stick, like a walking staff.
Yeah.
That would have helped a lot. Because then we would be like, all right. And then we, because we refer to them as Gands, but it just kind of just was thrown in there. Like, we're supposed to know what the heck a Gand is if you're not from this fandom. And so he's being called Grand Elf. And then there's the word Gand, which means staff, and he makes his own little remix. He makes his own nickname, none of which makes sense.
Yep.
And I just didn't love it. I just didn't love how they came to it at all. Sorry.
I totally agree.
And then my great is Celebrimbor's death. Now, mind you, friends, I don't like bloody stuff, but between Adar's death and Celebrimbor's death, I was feeling some feels. My heart was being pulled, and I thought, I just need to celebrate this amazing, awkward relationship between Celebrimbor and Anatar this entire season. It was fantastic. Anatar showing his true Sauron tendencies of not just being a deceiver, but truly being a torturer, as he talks about how he's been tortured in the past. If there's any doubt that you had, if you had hots for Halbrand like I did, okay? If you had hottie Halbrand, pop on up at the end of this episode and you're like, oh, maybe Galadriel, we can kind of forgive him. The Celebrimbor death makes you not forgive. Because
Yeah.
he is a deceiver, and I, like many, fell for Halbrand in season 1. That's okay. It's okay, Galadriel.
Just
because
accept it
she
and
even
move on.
says, I don't know, I might slip again. Luckily, she says the door is closed in this episode. But I'm just saying, the Celebrimbor death served such an amazing purpose for us as viewers to be like, no, the door is shut to all of us too.
Sure, yeah.
Now, if they bring back Hottie Halbrand version for season 3,
that door may have a little bit of a creak open.
everybody likes a bad boy. Anyway, what was your GBG?
All right, my good was the interaction between Galadriel and Adar. As always, I think Adar is at his best when he's paired with Galadriel, simply because they serve as a great mirror for each other. And specifically, Mary, what I had mentioned earlier, which is Adar's, I think, truly organic and character-driven reason for willingly giving over the ring and saying, this is not what I want, because it makes sense to what Adar has been for us as viewers throughout the entire series. All he has cared about, his defining just characterization, right? His defining moment and his defining characterization has been the love of his children, right? And it has been the need to not only protect them but create a new home for them. And by his rejection of the ring, it's not like, oh, I don't want this because I don't want it. It's he's choosing to be who he is, or who he has developed to be, as opposed to the version of his old self where he was once this elf. Like, that was like a big deal. And he wasn't scarred. He wasn't Adar. He was something else. Someone else that has a different name that he doesn't even want to mention, because that is not him. And that physical transformation, Mary, was so important, I think, to the reasoning for his rejection of the ring. He chooses to be an Uruk. He chooses his children. And which makes it all the more sadder that they all murder him at the end. And it's the fact that his fear and hatred of Sauron and everything that he is trying to do is what sets him up for his betrayal. And he's trying to protect his children from Sauron, and they all get corrupted. So I really liked that. I thought that was very good. My bad. Gandalf. What are we doing?
His name?
Well, yeah, the name first, how they get there, like you said, Mary, I won't belabor the point, was really bad. They all of a sudden, they just start calling this guy Grand Elf for no reason other than other than just reasons.
You could have called him Grand Wizard.
But they could have called him Grand Elf before. Fine. Like, I would be okay with it if they had established that earlier in the season, but they didn't. And it was just like, we need to figure out how to get from Stranger to Gandalf. So let's just have all the stores start calling him Grand Elf for no reason other than just because that's what we need them to do. And then from that to go to Gandalf, it makes no sense. And I why are we wasting so much time on this mystery of it being Gandalf when we all knew who it was? We all know what they were trying to accomplish. It felt like being there for the sake of being there.
Or like, let it be the word Gand that they say to him.
Sure.
Because he's holding a Gand.
Yeah.
Have them say Gandalf.
Yes.
Have them say Gandalf. Thank you, Gandalf.
Yes.
Thank you, Gandalf. And then he can say, oh, Gandalf.
Yeah.
And then go like that. Why do you have to say grand? All of it doesn't make sense.
It doesn't make any sense. And I felt like we've just wasted time pretending that Gandalf wasn't Gandalf, only for it to be Gandalf. It just didn't make sense. And I got to say, the show has absolutely no idea what to do with Arondir right now. It has no clue. They don't know what to give him now that his lady friend is gone. And since the whole thing with Theo is kind of gone, it feels like that whole side plot has been ruined.
Yep.
And they're just sticking him in places for him to show up to save the day at random times, for him to get stabbed and then show up again, and then just somehow be considered a leader among the elves when he was just a soldier before.
No, he's a big deal.
No, he's not. He was not. He was just a guy. He was a jag.
Yeah, but like he's proved his worth. He's lived all this time. And I think through this recent battle, he was in an upgraded position. I don't understand why he was allowed to live, because I feel like Commander and King were the top ones.
Yeah.
But on the flip side, I don't know. I'm okay that he's alive.
The other thing I loved too in my great is that I really loved Celebrimbor's death. I thought it was masterfully handled. And when you see him laying there with all of the arrows in him, and then all of a sudden, out of nowhere, another arrow comes, and it it goes right at him, and they pan over to Sauron holding the bow. What?
Do you know that they raised the rating for this episode?
Oh, really?
So different episodes of this show have been rated differently. There's 14 years. This one I think was 18 years old.
Oh wow! Well, I wouldn't be surprised
because of this scene
with how that worked out. And of course the way that Galadriel's dream ended up being with Celebrimbor's death, it certainly mirrored what actually happened.
Yes.
Right, with all the vines and all the stuff. And it's important to recognize that Galadriel is the one who planted the seeds for Sauron to come back.
And introduced that friendship.
Yep. And
brought Halbrand over.
Right. And all of the vines going into Celebrimbor are representative of all the arrows from Galadriel's planted seeds, ostensibly Sauron. And then him getting raised up in the tree in the dream is him getting raised up by that super spear thing. Really cool stuff. I will say that the show has really impressed me with stuff that it has established earlier in the season, like King Gil-galad's visions, and even like I said, Galadriel's dream. And then by setting that up, but also paying it off in a way that is not on the nose, but if you paid attention, you'd be like, oh, now I see. I really liked that. And I liked that Celebrimbor, he finally saw Sauron for what Sauron was. And he was the one who challenged Sauron and never broke, and even gave us a little bit of hope as an audience, where it's like, oh, no, you are now Lord of the Rings because you are slave to them, and they will be your downfall. And someone is going to bring you down. I don't know who it is, but it's gonna be somebody, and that and you can also see why now Sauron eventually creates the One Ring.
Yes,
because he thinks you can guarantee that next season it's going to be the creation of the One Ring. And it's going to be as a result of what Celebrimbor says to Sauron now.
Remember how last episode I said Fëanor's hammer was thrown outside? When Sauron is standing on the cliff, kind of overlooking after he's killed Glug, he is holding Fëanor's hammer.
Yeah, which, let's just get into the rest of the episode.
Okay.
And let's start there.
Sorry.
Because, no, I'm happy that you did. Because they clearly wanted to mimic the Two Towers, Mary. Like, Remember when Sam has his big final rousing speech at the end of the Two Towers, and he's saying like, "Oh, we have to have hope," and the whole thing, and it plays as Sean Astin's voice is talking over this big montage at the end of the Two Towers.
Mm-hmm.
Like they very clearly tried to mimic that in this episode with Poppy's monologue, right?
Mm-hmm.
I played it at the top of our episode for a reason. But to include Sauron with Fëanor's hammer, with Poppy saying all we have to do is rebuild. But as she's saying that, it's showing Sauron with Fëanor's hammer. It feels like that was the wrong move. It feels like they should not be including Sauron.
I was okay with it.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
How come?
Because of the wording. Build something new. And that's what he's going to go do. He's going to go build his ring.
Yeah,
and he's holding Fëanor's hammer. I appreciate that it's a good guy saying it, but I think it's just like we need a voiceover to kind of touch upon all of the different lines. Mm-hmm. You're not going to show that and then have doom music with him holding the hammer. Boom, boom, boom. Or like the Rings theme or something. We already had that at the end of season 1.
Sure.
We had him in his dark cloak walking towards Mount Doom.
Yes.
So this way it's kind of just like, and Poppy's talking about tough stuff. She's saying everything isn't easy. Everything isn't jolly. So I think it's okay. I didn't find an issue with it. I actually personally liked it.
All right, Marvin, before we continue, let's take a moment to thank our partners who help make this podcast possible. What did you think about how it all ended? Did it complete the story of what it set out to do, do you think, for this season? And do you find that it succeeded in that?
Yes. Personally, for me, I feel satiated. I feel like the storylines that I wanted to have a conclusion with, to have wrapped up, or to at least be saying like, okay, major shifts need to happen at this moment, they're happening.
Sure.
I don't know what's going to happen with Gandalf now. Is he completely done with the Harfoots? Are the Harfoots and the stores now necessary, or are they gone?
I feel like they should be gone.
They might be, but we don't know. And is the Dark Wizard, is he Saruman? And if so, how does Gandalf and Saruman become friends in the future? So like these storylines now need to happen. Who else does Gandalf meet? Does Gandalf ever meet Sauron, for example? Like where are these next things happening? So
Sure.
I feel like the storylines that we've had in season 1 and season 2, the potential romance between Galadriel and Sauron, that door is closed. I feel like the Poppy stranger walking around forever, just going different places, that door is now closed. Elrond being like, I think the rings are bad. That door is now closed. Now we're looking at Rivendell. So I'm happy. I'm happy with how all of these things ended. We have Elrond, who's going to go find his son that we've never seen. He's got his magic sword that we know is going to play a massive role. We are actively leaving, for the most part, Numenor, because, the guy we actually care about is leaving. I'm happy. Is there stuff that you felt sticky about that you didn't feel good with?
Well, I wouldn't say that I didn't feel good, but it did feel like they had a bunch of boxes they needed to check, and they did that. And it's like, okay, how do we get Narsil into Elendil's hand? Okay, well, we'll just have the queen just give him this random sword.
See, and that's, how I was talking about how we were just expected to understand what a Gand meant?
Yeah.
Same thing with this sword. This sword, for what I know, is important because of what it ends up doing. This is the sword that cuts off the ring from Sauron's hand.
Yes.
And then this is the sword that has to be, brought back and reforged. She says the name of the sword as if the viewers know what the heck this sword is. What is its history? Why does it have a name? Why are you so excited? And then you say, go and get your destiny. Okay, well, did you see him in the Palantir with this sword? Is that why this is important?
Right.
Why do we already need to have a name for this sword as the viewers? I didn't like that part. Why couldn't you just say, here, take this sword?
And this is what kind of gets me, Mary, because I feel like the stuff with now we know as Gandalf and Poppy and Nori and the Dark Wizard and the acolytes that he had or whatever, that could have all been done literally in one episode. Like all of it. it did not needed to be stretched over the course of an entire season. And it felt like, well, we need these characters to kind of permeate the whole season so that we have this payoff at the end with Gandalf. But what that did is that it took away the emphasis, and it took away the opportunity to give more meaning to Númenor and what was coming for this reveal of Narsil in Elendil and go find your destiny. Mm-hmm. You said it perfectly. Did you see this did you see it in a vision? How did you know? Why did you choose to give this sword to Elendil other than just reasons? Right? And that's the kind of thing that bothers me. And that's why it's hard to give this episode more than a 4.79 for me, because listen, I will say this. There's a lot of things here that I think people can find out anything to complain about. And a lot of the talk, I think, is, well, this isn't, Tolkien's work and whatever. And Mary and I have done, I think, a really good job, and we've tried very hard to be a place of positivity for this show, right? Because you're listening to this and you're watching the show because you love it. And we do too. But there are flaws here that I think are important to talk about. But at the same time, Mary, there are some really great things that this episode really accomplishes.
Agreed.
And does it really well. I mean, the stuff with Sauron and Galadriel at the end, when he's doing everything he can to convince her to be the queen of his realm. Mm-hmm. He's even going back to Hot Halbrand. Mm-hmm. He's being Celebrimbor. He's being her. I really liked that. What did you think about that choice?
Oh my God. You could see her heart stop when he turned and he was like, "Oh, it's Halbrand. I got my hair fixed. Like I'm looking real good right now. This new spanky new outfit." It caught her aback. It did half of what he wanted it to do, right? Mm-hmm. It stopped her in her tracks. It made her see him differently. And then for her to say, "No, this door is closed. It is totally closed."
Yep. But is it though? I don't think that it is. You want to know why?
Why?
Because of what she eventually says to Frodo later on, when she sees the One Ring, and she's like, "If you give that to me, there's gonna be problems."
But she also says, it's because he wants to know my thoughts. He wants to be inside my head.
Sure.
And so I kind of think of that as like, oh no, I'm not letting my ex read my diary. Mm-hmm. So and for him to come as Celebrimbor and to come back as Galadriel, having Galadriel fight herself, it was awesome. And for him to stab her with Morgoth's crown, rather than it be... I was thinking he was going to do it to Adar because, of course, that's what happened. But he doesn't need to do that to Adar, right? Mm-hmm. The Aruks are able to do it. But for him to use this like dark, sacred magic encrusted crown to pierce her is very damaging. It's not just like a wound, because we saw Arondir pop back up after he's been stabbed with a knife and a bow. I mean, and an arrow. But this was a dark magic crown.
Yep.
That killed a part of Sauron.
Yes.
It had the capability of doing that. So that's why we're able to understand too that this seriously wounds Galadriel. And that's why she needs the help from the rings.
Yep. And also, by the way, they fight in the same place that Frodo and Sam and all the others are fighting the Nazgul. When Frodo gets stabbed in the shoulder, it's the same place.
And then of course, as King...
and that has dark magic in it too, so he had to get healed. Yes.
Because
really
he's saying
cool
to her, he's like, "We're losing her. She's going to the dark." So like that's exactly. It's just like what Frodo was kind of dealing with. Love it. Absolutely.
And I love that it was Morgoth's crown that he stabbed her with. I think that I was really happy with the choreography. It felt powerful. It felt visceral, but it felt personal at the same time. And you could see again, we've talked about this, I think, throughout the whole season, but the layers of Sauron are starting to come off when he gets more frustrated and he gets more angry.
I also felt like he was pain. Like when he's stabbing her, that's when he was like, I wanted to make you my queen. I felt genuine feelings, not saying that they're just and right, but he truly did want Galadriel. He's stabbing her with it, knowing that this is a mortal wound. Like this is dark magic. This is bad stuff. And when he's saying that to her, I wanted, your light to show that you need to, you guys have said it before, to truly understand the light, you got to step into the darkness for a little bit. I wanted that for you.
Yep. Oh, man. Right. And I believe him. I believe him when he says it. I believe the pain that he has, that he shows as he's doing it. But I also believe the anger, and I believe the frustration. It's like, dude, I'm done playing. I'm done with this. If you're not gonna do this, then that's it. You're my enemy, and like, if I can't have you, nobody can.
Yes.
Type deal.
Yes.
Which is scary unto itself, but it's true, and as problematic and toxic as that relationship is, it just provides more context and more texture. And again, I keep going back to what Galadriel does with Frodo in the Fellowship. Like, that vision never made sense to me, or like that interaction that she has with him when she sees the One Ring and he's like, no, you take it. It never made, like, it just, Galadriel didn't really make a whole ton of sense to me to begin with in Lord of the Rings. But now seeing this, it just gives me so much more. And knowing that she essentially is the reason why Sauron is the way that he is.
Yes.
And that she shared this relationship with him, and why it feels like she's so far removed from everything in the Lord of the Rings. Like, you get it now. You're like, oh, I see why. I see why she's removing herself from all of this. Because it was like, if you're such a powerful elf, and if like you're this legit super being, then why are you just hanging around, just doing nothing? It never made sense. Now it does. And then sorry, go ahead. No, go ahead.
No. One thing that did confuse me is by her falling with the ring, I didn't see how that was going to truly stop him. It wasn't like she was falling in water and a river was going to take the ring and take it away. She was just falling down. So there's nothing to stop Sauron and the orcs from going down there and finding the ring. Like, she was like, okay, well, I'm just going to jump off this cliff. Goodbye.
That's true.
And it's like, okay.
Maybe it was the hope that he wouldn't be able to find her. I doubt it, though.
I mean, it's not water below. I just thought it was a poor plan. Like, Galadriel, you're going to end your life. I mean, granted, you have a mortal wound. You're going to end your life, and he's eventually going to be able to find this ring. Thank goodness your friends found you.
Right, yeah. And what do you think of her final line where she's like, oh, you want to heal Middle-earth? Heal yourself first. Like,
I love it.
that felt empathetic almost.
Yeah, no, I liked it.
Yeah, no, I agree.
Because he was trying to, once again, please, my friends, never get yourself in a relationship like the one that Galadriel has been in with Elrond and Adar, Sauron. All of it is toxic and bad. But I think that is the part of her that did have feelings for him, saying like, you got some work to do, man.
Right.
You're not going to be able to rule people. You're not going to be able to be who you think you are. And you're always, just like what Celebrimbor was saying, you're always going to be tied to these rings.
Right.
There's always going to be a problem with them. So I loved it. I love how she ended things with him. I love how Celebrimbor ended things with him. I wonder if they're going to see each other again, or if this was their last time seeing each other.
Galadriel and Sauron?
Yes. I feel like they have to.
I feel like they kind of have to as well. Only because it's magic when they're on the screen together. Like, similar to like what Blackjack Randall and Claire was in Outlander. It's just like when those two are together, oh man, freaking electric.
Yeah.
And since we have Celebrimbor now gone, you can't share that kind of relationship anymore. And it's a different kind of electricity with Elrond and Durin. like, when Sauron and Galadriel are together, you know stuff's going to happen. It's just a question of what and how much, right? And because there is so much history and there is so much shared between the two, one character that I'm very pleased with, Mary, is actually Elrond for this season. Because he begins this season being like, nah, those rings are bad news. And he's not wrong. But by the end, what he does is he chooses his friend. Mm-hmm. And he chooses her life over his fear and over his distrust. I like it because that's character growth. What I hope is that in the future season or future seasons, when he eventually gets one of the rings too, hashtag spoilers, does he struggle with that? And how does he struggle with that? It's like, it's one thing to say, okay, let's use this thing to help my friend, but now I'm going to have to wear it. And like, how do you think he gets from that point to, okay, now I'm going to wear this?
I think that this was the first step. He wore it. It didn't end the world. He saw that it could do some good. And obviously he's going to have to get his buddy's ring.
Yeah.
And go from there. So I think this was the first major step.
Yeah, and the fact is too, Mary, that there has, like, those two, Galadriel and Elrond, were very clearly friends in season 1. And like prior to the events of season 1. And season 2 did its best to deconstruct that friendship and split it apart. And for him to, and for the show to go back and be like, oh, no, let's mend this, but let's mend it using the thing that actually splits them. It's a really smart choice.
Agreed.
It's a really smart choice. And
it just teaches him to listen. You know, like I said in the previous episode, I love Elrond. I love Durin. First, it shows the fact that some things that you think are bad, you're going to have to change your opinions on. Mm-hmm. And especially when, you know, it involves your friends and it involves taking care of people. So I've loved seeing this evolution.
Speaking of Durin, Mary, there's, you know, obviously a big movement here with his Daddy Durin, and the Balrog, by the way, which looked fantastic.
It was outstanding.
It was freaking awesome. Like, I expected it to be, you know, like a ripoff of what we saw in The Lord of the Rings. Mm-hmm. It was not. And even though I think it did a lot to mimic what happened in The Lord of the Rings with Gandalf or Grandalf, and the same way Gandalf eventually died, the same thing happens with Daddy Durin, essentially. But I really liked what happened because Daddy Durin finally takes the ring off after that arm wrestling story, which to me adds a lot of, again, texture to that relationship. But it all felt like rushed, not in a sense that it didn't earn the result. I think the show did. But again, this is where I think we should have had more time with Daddy Durin and Baby Durin in order to really appreciate that moment of taking off the ring and being like, and having it be like this idea that Daddy Durin recognizes, oh, this ring is what has made me really problematic and not listen to my son. Like, oh yeah, the ring, I thought it gave me complete sight of this mountain, but I was wrong, and it tricked me because I didn't even see this massive thing that's living in our mountain.
Yeah.
Why do you think he leaves the ring there?
First off, you don't want the Balrog to have that.
It's true. Good point.
Okay. But also, I mean, forgive me, but that ring was the most precious thing to him.
Sure.
And so for him to leave that, yes, it blinded him, but it also gave him great strength. You know how he was able to push Durin and he was able to do, I mean, potentially seeing it as you wear this and you can be a physical superhero.
Sure.
Now, granted, one could argue, okay, Daddy Durin, you probably should have kept the ring on because maybe that extra power could help you defeat the Balrog. I'm not going to lie. I have a really hard time believing that Daddy Durin's sans ring with just, baby Durin's battle axe jumping out is what can stop a Balrog.
Right.
Because everybody's just like, oh, we're going to go to war, and now we're going to mourn and put this drapery on the throne. Okay, guys, what are you going to do about the Balrog? Once again, one little dwarf, I highly doubt, stops a Balrog.
Sure.
So,
especially, it was a fantastic visual.
Of him jumping?
Of him jumping, and then, the axe meeting the sword or whatever it was, and like this big flash of light, and then all the rocks coming down and sealing off the hole. Maybe they think like, oh, well, that all those rocks, because they don't know how deep that hole goes, right? Like we do as viewers if you've watched Lord of the Rings, but they don't know. So they don't know, like, if the rocks collapsing does kill the Balrog, right?
Yeah.
Like, they don't know. So maybe that's the reason why, but I don't know.
Listen, if that were me, I'd be like, it's time to move.
Yeah, right? It's, you know what?
It's like what we've talked about if we ever moved into a house that was haunted. We'd be like, put it back on the market.
Yeah, we're done.
We're going.
I know we had a deposit, but oh well.
Yeah. Yep.
Too bad.
Oh my God.
Cost of doing business.
Fun fact, friends. Blake and I had our hearts set on this one house.
Oh, yes.
In Providence, and we had all these grand dreams for it. We had like lusted after this house forever, and it finally came on the market, and we had all these plans and dreams, and we go on the tour.
It was one of those beautiful, like 19th century, like it's like one of those homes that, like, if you lived in a mill town, the mill owner would live in.
Yeah.
Like it was
what
beautiful.
People make not even Airbnbs, but make B&Bs out of.
Right.
Like
yep.
They were like, this is the women's sitting room, this is the gentleman's sitting room, and I was just like,
the dining room was the size of our house now.
We were like, think of the potential, and we can have a bed and breakfast and our business and all these things. It was just really gorgeous. I mean, it had even like a carriage entrance, like the covered entrance. Anyway, we're inside drooling, getting so excited, and then we get to like one of the bedrooms, and for some reason the like man that like lived there was on the tour with us, remember?
Oh, yes.
Or were they the ones selling it? Was it like owned by the owner and they were selling it? However it happened, the guy was like, yeah, and this is the room where the most paranormal activity came out, but it's not bad. Like, people levitate in this room when they sleep, but that's really it. That's all the ghosts do. And friends,
you were like, sorry.
In case you don't know, Blake and I live in New England, and I don't know where you live, but here in Rhode Island especially, we don't mess with that stuff.
Weird stuff happens
If
here.
you have watched The Conjuring, that house is based in Rhode Island. If you live here, you know. You do not mess with those things. Everyone else can come and go on ghost tours and go do their fun little, let's play with this stuff. You, fine.
Great, love that.
You take that into your own hands. We have been taught here. You leave the dead alone.
Yep. And they'll leave you alone, hopefully.
And so Blake and the guy was just saying it nonchalant. He's like, yeah, so it's really, they're not bad. This is all they do. And we were like, okay.
Thanks.
Goodbye.
hey, look at the time.
So that would be me. If I was Disa and Blake was Baby Durin, I'd be saying, you know what, honey? It's about time we back up.
Let's go find another mountain.
Please. Let's go have a funeral elsewhere.
Can we go to Hawaii?
Please.
We'll sell some coconut juice.
Oh, my God.
Figure that out in a hot beat.
Mordor's looking really good right now.
Open up a surf shop.
Holy smokes.
Mordor's looking really good right now.
But the Balrog CGI was amazing. I even loved the Balrog's whip, taking Daddy Durin's leg, kind of, just like how he does the whip with Gandalf.
Yep.
So.
Yep, excellent stuff. Really excellent stuff. Now,
what does he do with the rings? And all the 7 rings. That was one of my questions was, has he already handed out the rings? Who are these other dwarf lords who have it? All of those rings were still on the table.
Right. So, like, how
all
do they...
7 are there.
Right. So that's what I'm getting confused about. Well, not confused, but like...
Well, that happens in season 3 now.
Is it the intent... Does Daddy Durin have the intent of being like, this is my ring, this should be your ring now, and maybe now you won't get overwhelmed by it like the way that I was? Or is it like, this is the ring, destroy this thing, get rid of it? And if that's the case, great. But why doesn't Baby Durin destroy the ring?
That we will find out.
I know, that's what I'm saying.
But that's why I'm happy. Like, this closed a lot of, this closed this storyline, the daddy storyline, and how this came about. But exactly, like, where do these rings go from here? Does the brother take them and hand them all out? I'm hoping for that. I hope Baby Durin doesn't become a ring owner.
Yeah.
Just because I love him.
Yep.
But maybe he feels like he needs to stand up to his brother. Who knows? Who knows?
By the way, the introduction of the brother thing, honestly, I've it just
not great, Bob.
What are we doing? How is it that there has been no mention of a brother at all over the course of these past 2 seasons? How is that? How is that even a thing? It's almost reminiscent, Mary, of when in This Is Us, #spoilers, they reveal that Jack has a brother.
Yes.
But at least it does it in an interesting fashion. When they're in the car and little Nicky just pops up out of nowhere, you're like, what? How did that? How is that a thing? But it was done in an interesting fashion. In this case, it's just out of nowhere, well, your brother, blah, 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 blah. Like, what? Does that feel cheap to you?
Yes.
Yeah, it feels cheap.
It does. Where have you been?
Right.
Where have you been?
Yeah.
So it's okay. It's a minor little thing. And this is why I couldn't give it a perfect 5.
Right.
I wanted to give this episode a perfect 5. I even said in the penultimate, I'm leaving room. I probably should have given the penultimate a 5.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna lie. I'm gonna redact that and change it to a 5 because I did enjoy that episode more than this one.
Yep.
However, I think that this was a good season finale.
Yep.
Is it, do I think that it's a little messy adding the brother now? Yes, but on the flip side, they've ended so many storylines that they needed to place some crumbs for us to say, okay, now you know where we're going for season 3.
Sure.
I do love that we know that this is going to be 5 season long. It's, like paid for, done, here we go.
It's coming.
And so there's not going to be this wishy-washy 3rd season thing that a lot of shows go into where it's like treading water.
Yeah.
Okay, what plot lines do we continue? What plot lines do we just kind of make up?
Yeah.
They have end goals. They're writing now at this point in the mid portion back to now.
Yeah.
So they have to know where they're going to end season 5. They have to pretty much write all of season 5 and through 3 and 4 connect all those
reverse
dots.
engineer it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And so I am really, really excited. I am hopeful. And I think that a lot of the things that season 1 lacked, they fixed in season 2.
Yep.
So here we are, like I said, I'm a 4.95, being a little nitpicky. You're adding a brother? If that's what I'm picking bones about, this is a good show.
Right. I think what this show does, more specifically the finale, what it does is that it hopefully trims a lot of the crap out. As much as I loved all the stuff with Celebrimbor, like, that's going away now. The stuff with Daddy Durin, that is going away. Then we have Nori and Poppy. Hopefully they're going away. The stuff with the stranger just walking about is going away. Hopefully, Mary, this makes for a lot better streamlined storytelling by cutting out all the fat and giving us the things that we actually want, the things that we're interested in, and the things that, or at least the characters that seem to drive the story more than just Nori, Poppy, and all the other stuff that feels extraneous.
I mean, I gotta be honest with you. Nori and Poppy, they're not the most interesting plot-driving characters in the entire world, but God, I love the music that accompanies the Harfoots.
Totally agree.
So
I love it so much that we include it in our show.
Yeah. And as I said earlier in this episode, we're watching this with our kids. Our kids are so invested in Nori and Poppy that I know there's other people who do care about these characters. I honestly love Nori.
Sure.
I love them both. I wouldn't be upset to follow along and see what happens to them.
Mm-hmm.
I will be interested to see if they do play any more important roles, because this is kind of a blip on the radar. You know what I mean? Like the whole hobbits, they're like, we don't really do much. We don't really go on adventures that much. It's not really what we do. So that's not necessarily in their immediate past. But does something else happen that they don't even realize they're adjacent to something massive?
Yeah.
That's what I'll be interested to see.
Yeah. The only other question that I have moving forward is the Dark Wizard and what that looks like.
Oh, God, I know.
And is it Saruman? And the only reason why I say it could be Saruman, I think... I don't think Ciarán Hinds did an impression of Christopher Lee, but I feel like he channeled Christopher Lee a little bit.
Well, he said there's 5 of us. So he said, like, you came down, you were the one that told me to come here, there's 5 of us. So we know that there's Gandalf, Saruman, Radagast, and then there's like these 2 blue wizards.
Correct.
He's not wearing blue. And I do not see that man hugging animals anytime soon.
No.
I do not see him being Radagast.
No.
So I think he has to be Saruman, unless there's
I'm sorry. Go
unless
ahead.
there's like a completely other thing that is extra canon that the show is kind of creating. What I have a hard time wrapping my mind around, though, is that if this is Saruman, like I said earlier, how does Gandalf trust him, befriend him, look up to him?
Yeah.
You know when Gandalf becomes Gandalf the White?
Yes.
Between Gandalf the Grey and Gandalf the White, does he forget things in between his kind of like reincarnations? So will this current version of Gandalf, because he's not saying I'm Gandalf the Grey, he's just saying I'm Gandalf.
Yeah.
So does this version of Gandalf die? He's not wearing gray. He's wearing brown.
Right. And here's
does
another
he
thing too,
come back
Mary.
as Gandalf the Grey and kind of restart and forget things?
The Saruman that we know was Saruman the White.
Correct.
Right? So is there an opportunity for this character, whoever the Dark Wizard, to become Saruman the White?
Yeah.
And then
To get reborn.
as something else.
Because he has to become gray and then he has to become white.
Right. So is there a chance? Yes. And I say that there's a chance because Ciarán Hinds, as the Dark Wizard, greets Gandalf as old friend. And what does Christopher Lee, as Saruman the White, greet Gandalf as? Old friend. Right? And so I don't put it past the writers to put this in there and be like, well, we were telling you from the beginning with this little reference. Now, I will say this. The showrunners have come out saying we don't have any plans for him to be Saruman. But I don't believe them. I don't share that that trust with them, because it could be just it could just be them being like, yeah, no, it's not it. And it almost reminds me of Star Trek Into Darkness when they were like, oh yeah, Benedict Cumberbatch, he's not playing Khan, he's John Harrison. And they weren't lying, but they were lying because he ended up playing Khan. #spoilers. Although we're past the 10-year mark now, so I don't think the spoilers really count. But that's what it feels like to me. He's not Saruman, the one that you know. He's just a different Saruman. Like, that's what it feels like. I don't know. That's what I get. Do you get that sense too?
I have no idea. I'm just going to go with the flow, but there's only 5 wizards that I know of.
I know, true.
I can't picture him being Radagast. Can we go to one of my least favorite people in the entire world?
I would love to.
Kevin.
Out on Kevin. Out.
So his dad says, get this kid away from me.
Yep.
Which, oh my God. Kevin is even hated by his dad.
Yep.
He is in charge of the outpost now.
Yeah, Pelegrir.
Yes. And so he's now in Middle-earth. He's power hungry. Mm-hmm. He's trying to find a way to prove things to his dad.
Sure.
Kemen's going to get a ring.
Ooh, I like that idea.
He's right there. He's hungry.
Yep.
Maybe he says, give me and my dad a ring.
Yep, I would agree with this.
Mm-hmm.
I would totally agree with this. This feels right to me.
Are the Ents coming back? Because
yes,
of Kevin saying, I want to
they're
cut down
only
trees.
Yeah, and they're only trees. Like, no, the Ents are coming back.
Can Kemen be killed by an Ent?
If he has a ring, no.
Crap.
If he doesn't have a ring, then yes.
That's how I'd like Kevin to go. I want him to be killed by an Ent. Just for that phrase alone and all the dirty deeds he's done.
It's going to feel very Avatar-ish with Kevin.
Does he give a ring to Elendil's daughter?
No, I don't think so.
It's like, oh, here, look at this pretty jewelry I got you.
I don't think so.
Okay.
I don't think so. I wonder if she is... That'd be interesting if she was given one and then she gives it to him, knowing like something's wrong with it.
I think he's going to be the first one to get the rings out of the Numenor crew just because he's here in Middle Earth.
Yeah, agreed. I like that hot take.
Now, what do you think is going to happen to Theo? So Theo's got a lot of things going on.
I hope that Theo's gone. I want nothing to do with this kid.
Theo was here for a long time. So first off, they make Theo a really big deal, being like, this is the son of Bronwyn. No, let's say that again. This is the son of Bronwyn.
I know, and that comes out of nowhere to me.
Oh, well, I think Bronwyn was one of the few people that the queen talked with.
That's true.
So Bronwyn was seen as the natural leader in addition to Halbrand during that whole battle. So Bronwyn was probably the one that they made the deal with. Yes, we're going to come back and save you. So I took it as a natural thing that they just thought the queen went back and talked about Bronwyn.
Yep.
There was Halbrand and Bronwyn there and Arondir.
Right.
So it seems natural. What I don't understand is like how teenage Theo is somehow a leader, aside from the fact that he's a damn good healer, as Isildur says too. Like, man, my leg's okay. Thanks to having a really good healer.
Right.
So he is obviously very important to these people. They do put him up on a high pedestal because of what he's gone through, and he has been able to be very helpful with his healing skills. And then Estrid's hubby-to-be.
Yeah.
I feel like his name's like Hillig or something like that. Mm-hmm. He's the other leader. He's the leader of the wild people.
Right.
So he and Theo are currently the two people in charge of all these people. Theo, in my opinion, he is going to have a storyline. I don't think this is the end. I don't think Bronwyn not coming back as a character isn't the reason to continue Theo's storyline. Theo is important. We've known that from day one of this show, that he's going to be something important.
Yeah, it'll be
if he's
interesting.
good or bad, though, that's what we have to figure out.
It'll be interesting. I hope that he's gone. And to me, when Kevin rejects him, that feels like the show being like, okay, yeah, we're done.
What if he goes bad and Arondir has to kill him? After promising to protect him.
I think that'd be interesting, but I don't see how that would... I don't see how that matters.
I don't know. Is he like a king of men now? Is he a king of these people? Is he one of the 10 kings doomed to die? I don't know. But
everybody's getting a ring. It's freaking Oprah giving 9. These rings out to men.
Let's be real. The dwarves haven't handed theirs out, so there's 16 right now. There's a lot of rings.
You get a ring, and you get a ring.
If you have a name on this show, you're going to get a ring. There's so few people alive at this point. I'm holding out hope for Theo that he is going to have a big part. Like I said, he was established pretty much as an important character from the very beginning.
Yeah.
I don't think he was just meant to be like the scared little kid viewpoint that we would get. We've gotten that through other people.
Yeah.
And the fact that he's still around, even though Bronwyn said if they wanted to kill off his character, he would not still be here. He would not be seen as a leader. He would not be seen as the top healer. So he's still here.
Did the stuff with Estrid and Isildur, was that just a giant waste of time?
No. Because it's something. It's something, and we're going to come back to it. If we don't come back to it, then I'm going to be mad.
Right.
If it just goes to show you that Isildur's looking for love, if Isildur now goes and has like a honey of the week in Numenor, and then he has another honey of the week somewhere else, then we're just going to know that this kid just wants some love, and that's what we'll get out of it. If Estrid is Isildur's soon-to-be baby mama, and...
Yeah, then I get it.
You know, then that's something. And that might be what it is. Because he has to come back and save the day and cut off Sauron's finger.
But there's more things that happen in between then,
but all I'm saying is he's not staying in Numenor forever, so he's going to come back.
Yeah.
Maybe Estrid's husband and fiancé is dead. I think that she's going to be the baby mama.
I hope so. I hope that...
Otherwise it's pointless.
Yes, right, exactly. And... if they're trying to set up this love triangle, let's say, between Estrid and Isildur and the current fiance, I think they did a poor job setting this up. Because she was on board. She was ready to go to Numenor. Oh, yeah, I want the plumbing. Give me the plumbing, please.
Yes. No, that's what I think is going to happen. I think when
Yeah.
he comes back to Middle Earth, either her fiance's dead or they never got married or her fiance like went super bad and they're not. Whatever happens, I'm pretty sure she's going to end up with him because he comes back to Middle Earth.
Sure. Do you think that Isildur's turn to maturity happened
I don't think he's
kind of
mature
quickly?
yet.
Well, no, he was like, well, I see things differently now, and I learned because he has that conversation with Theo.
Okay, can I ask you a question?
Sure.
Did you grow a lot the summer of senior year through until the summer of your freshman year of college? So senior year of high school, you got in your car accident. You had like a life-changing experience.
Yep.
You go to school. Your mom dies.
Yep.
Do you think that you had a lot of mature growth within 1 year? Between
If anything, I probably
traumas?
regressed a little bit.
Oh. Well, I think a lot of people who go through significant trauma in a relatively short amount of time, say a year, and this wasn't a year, but like even a few months, people sometimes go through significant growth at summer camp.
Sure.
You know, or they go off to fight in a war for a couple months. Like I do believe, I mean, he lost his two best friends. He doesn't know he lost his other one.
Yep.
But he lost one of his best friends. He doesn't know what happened to he at least now knows his dad's alive, but he's already lost his mom.
Yep.
And he deals with all that girl. Yeah, I think this kid is grown. I'm not saying that he's the men of men, you know, the king of men, but I'm saying he definitely
He's
grew.
no James Fraser.
No one is. no one is.
Nobody is
If James Fraser was here, oh my God, he would have saved the day one.
Right, that would have been it.
He would have stepped in sloppy Sauron, wiped his boot in some heather, and be done with it.
All right. Anything else that you want to talk about in this episode, my love? Anything else that stands out to you as you drink your kombucha?
Is this the end of Tom Bombadil?
I freaking hope so, but
I hope not.
but I doubt it.
Oh my God! I hope we at least have him for episode
Could you
1,
imagine
season
singing
3.
a song about yourself?
Yeah.
I asked the wrong person. That was really dumb, Blake.
I sing a song about anything. I'll make up a song about kombucha right now if I need to.
Oh man.
Yeah, no, I love it. I love that he sits down. He's like,
I'm gonna sing my song
And-
about me.
no, he sings it with Gandalf.
I know, but it's about him.
They've got their tea. It's so
Yeah,
freaking cute.
about his boots and his bright blue
Love
jacket.
it. Love it.
Get out of here, guy.
Love
It's like giving yourself a nickname. You can't do that. You're the guy wearing the T-shirt to the concert. Come on,
don't care.
don't do that. Singing this song about you, and then you're like, "Hey, come sing the song with me about me."
It's fine. Gandalf just named
What?
himself Gandalf
That's
from
true.
Gandalf, okay? These guys can be tools together.
He totally gave himself a nickname. He totally did. You know these two would show up to the Allman Brothers concert with the Allman Brothers band T-shirt.
I just love it. You know, it kind of makes me think of like when just people come into each other's houses, like Bilbo and Frodo, and they're just like hanging out. Gandalf's hanging on out. He's like, I learned it from Tom Bombadil. You just hang.
Yeah.
You just
You're
sing.
just here, man. You sing.
This is what we do.
Because this is what Bilbo Baggins hates.
Oh my goodness gracious.
Anything else you want to talk about in this episode, my darling?
Galadriel given her stats that she has killed more orcs than any other elf.
Oh, that's true. I like that.
She's amazing.
She is amazing. She's great.
And I just love Celebrimbor saying you are the Lord of the Rings.
Yeah, I like that too. That's a great moment. Because I think it gives Sauron a little bit of pause and a little bit of more self-awareness of what's happening. And I truly believe he creates the One Ring as a response to that.
Yeah. Elrond crying, sobbing more than he's ever sobbed in his entire life because the scrolls are being put on fire. He actually says it to the orcs, like, please don't.
Please don't.
Okay, buddy, have you learned nothing?
If you do that, they're going to double down.
I would actually say those scrolls are pretty important to your new boss.
You may want to save them.
However, brilliant that they do this because any of Celebrimbor's work on how
now
to
gone.
make said rings
Right.
is now gone. So this needed to happen, right? Because other people would have just been bippity boppity booing rings all over the
Would
place.
it have been better if Elrond said nothing and he just watched these orcs burn?
Because I think it's a big important part of Elrond's character to be like, take me instead.
Leave the scrolls.
I volunteer as tribute.
I kind of agree with you. I kind of agree with you on that.
And I just need to say I'm so happy Arondir's here. I definitely think they missed some scenes on how he's recovered from his boo-boos.
Missed some scenes. It was just like it didn't even happen.
We need the extended scenes to come out. We need what did you cut to fill in any of these little blanks?
Anything.
Because,
Like if he had super glue.
No, he just needs his little magic seeds. You know his little magic seeds
sure.
that he has?
Great. Stick them on.
He's got a little Ziploc baggie with him.
Yep.
You know, it's in his little pouch. He's always had them. And he just bippity boppity boos. Pat him on. Does he have to burn them? I don't know. There's fire everywhere.
I'm sure we could figure it out.
Yes.
But to not have anything
Explain.
He got run through.
Yeah, by Adar.
By Adar. Run through. And I get that elves are special, but you see some elves just get killed by an arrow. They're just falling, and it's like a thing. This guy gets run through with a sword in his abdomen.
And you know he's not wearing mithril.
I know. And he's just walking around like he's going to freaking bingo. What are we talking about? That again, it's another reason why this cannot be a 5. You need to give me something.
Agreed.
You need to give me...
Just show him whipping out his seeds. We know what the seeds mean. Just whip out a baggie of seeds and put it on your belly and we're good.
Whatever. Just something.
And he could have even sprinkled some seeds on Galadriel. Oh, I've got something in my pouch.
Right.
I just healed myself with these. They work like a jiffy.
They work like a jiffy. I don't think I've heard someone say that in 20 years. This will work in a jiffy.
You're welcome. You are welcome.
All right. You ready to close this bad boy out?
Yeah.
All right. Let's do it.
We want to thank all of our friends at jointhenerdclan.com who have made this and every episode at Mary and Blake Media possible. Blake, do you want to thank them?
I thought you just did.
I mean, here's a scoop, poops. If you have enjoyed these episodes of Rings of Power and you're not yet a member, you can join for as little as $2 a month.
Yes.
$2 a month is less than a cup of coffee, and it keeps the lights on in our studio. It helps us keep the shows uploaded, and it makes content like this free for everyone around the world. Plus, you know, different levels on our jointhenerdclan.com site, you get extra fun perks. And I got to tell you, it's our holiday season. We're going to be sending many people gifts, holiday cards. So if you have not yet become a member there, jointhenerdclan.com. You'll want to today.
Yes, and if you want to go to maryandblake.com to check out all the other podcasts that we have going on over there, please do so. Whether it is the Potterverse, which is what we are returning to soon. We have Outlander cast happening right now as well, which is, you know, it's always a fun time. We have the listener feedback episodes that are dedicated to just listener feedback. We have our After Dark episodes that we do after our main Outlander cast episode. We have the knee-jerk reactions. I'm sorry, that's for... I just conflated Join the Nerd Clan and maryandblake.com.
It's okay, Blake.
I just totally did that.
It's because that was on your mind. But it's okay. We still love you.
Yeah, I know. But check out all the
Lots of fun
podcasts
things.
and stuff that we have going on at maryandblake.com. And, of course, check us out over at Facebook or Instagram, X, or YouTube. We have all of our content over there as well.
All right, my friends. My name's Mary.
My name is Blake.
Namarie.